zoning commission meeting today, and we'll start with the approval of the minutes, which happened in September. But is there any additions or corrections?
I make a motion to pass the minutes from September.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we can start with your report, Michelle.
See you guys?
No, she's just gonna go there.
Okay, so as just about everybody, we've been working from home. We are answering the phone. It gets transferred to one of the employees' phones, and so we are able to operate somewhat normally and keep things going. Working really hard with the businesses on reopening plan and trying to promote them as much as possible, as we're worried about them like everyone is. We also held our election, what day was that, May 5th?
That's Tuesday.
Yeah, and Mayor Burris was reelected, Councilmember Jay Mattingly reelected, and we have a new Councilmember, Nick Colvin. So they were sworn in at last month's meeting. Since your last meeting, we also have proceeded with the water tower that we're building on the Wilkinson farm. Quality Road Homes have donated the property. We need that for future growth. You should have received a new Beacon newsletter, a new design. We rolled out all the new downtown plan, the logo and everything, so I think it turned out really nice. It hasn't been updated, but we've had that same look since 2002, so it was nice to see something fresh. We have been working on the downtown plan improvements. We have some new chairs that'll be going in the square, hopefully maybe later this week. We are building a double swing in the little park by where Jeannie's used to be. It just got put on hold with everything that's been going on. We are working on a grant for the alley network for L-Town Alley. If you saw the plan when the consultants presented it, and so we're working on a grant for that due at the end of this month. So we hope that comes through and we can move that forward. We approved 2 electric vehicle charging stations in cooperation with SMECO. They'll be going in the parking lot on Park Avenue and one down by the hair company in both of those public parking lots. We also approved the budget for FY21 and the tax rate, which remained the same as it has for several years now. We also signed the task order for the wastewater treatment plant expansion, which we know we need to accommodate new growth. We did the ENR upgrade a few years ago, but that didn't give us any more capacity. So this would take us to close to 1 million gallons per day. We're at 680,000 gallons per day right now. So we're moving forward with that. We approved last month a new roof for Town Hall and for the sludge drying beds down at the wastewater treatment plant. We desperately need a new roof on this building. We put up banners in the square on Friday for the Leonardtown High School graduates and the Riken graduates. And people were out in droves this weekend looking for their kids' names, taking pictures. So it was really fun. It's had a lot of exposure on Facebook as well. And last month we introduced ordinances that you all, I think, got copies of in your packets. We'll have a public hearing before you all next month, and then you'll send recommendations to the town council. Part of those are just text amendments. We are also entertaining an annexation just south on Route 5 of Cedar Lane. It's a parcel right along Route 4 and Route 5 where they come together. The St. Mary's Nursing Center is proposing a memory care facility there, which is much needed in the community. So part of the ordinances that were introduced are the beginnings of that annexation process, and you all will be involved in that as well. Are you going to cover any of those, or you'll just wait till next month to go over them?
I'll go over next month. However, if there are questions today, I can try to answer whatever questions you have.
Because there'll be public hearings with you all, and then also public hearings with the council. Any questions for me?
No, I think those signs are a great idea, even for future. I think that was really thoughtful.
Yeah.
I
So
thought so, too.
thoughtful. Really nice that you guys did that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, we have case number 100-15, which is Meadows at Town Run, the Wathen Farm, and they're requesting a Phase 2 final site plan recommendation. And if you will give us a little information.
Yes, ma'am. So this is phase 2 of the Meadows at Town Run subdivision. Planning and zoning reviewed phase 1 and had a favorable recommendation to town council back in September of 2016. And town council actually approved the concept plan in October of 2016. The property is located on the east side of Maryland Route 245, and it's better known as the Wathen Farm. Phase 2 contains 47 single-family home lots, a pavilion, playfield, playground area for outdoor activities and open space. Phase 2 only contains 2 additional roads, one being Daffodil Court and one being Meadow Street. Meadow Street will be stubbed for future connection to the Wilkerson Farm. As with Phase 1, the architecture will mimic that of Leonard's Grant subdivision models. The site, again, it is fairly flat in the western and central portions of the site, and then it slopes down sharply to the stream valley and floodplain area along the eastern boundary. And I will have John Edwards address that. The majority of steep slopes on the site occur adjacent to the stream channel. A low-lying area associated with the wetland system is present in the south-central portion of the site. The lighting and landscaping will remain consistent with Phase 1 of the subdivision. And to date, we have received comments from the Department of Public Works, the Town Capital Projects Coordinator, Town Utilities Superintendent, and Soil Conservation District. I have John Edwards and Brian Burkhart here to present, and you can ask any questions of them or myself. So, who would like to go first?
Thank you, Jada. I'm going to start by putting this exhibit up here. All right, again, thank you commission members and town staff for allowing us to proceed with the meeting in the midst of everything going on. So we and Quality Built certainly appreciate that. So as Jada was speaking about, Phase 2 is just a continuation of what was left off as Phase 1 for the remaining lots. The development is concentrated on what was mainly the old farmland, the open fields. The steep slopes and the existing wetlands and buffers, and as most of the existing trees were all left in their existing condition to as much as possible. Like I said, all the development was, kind of centered around the open areas to limit the disturbance to the environmental features of the site. There are just extensions of the main road network, as Jada spoke about, continuation of the sidewalks for connectivity and the trail systems to connect the various parts of the subdivision all together to provide for pedestrian and bicycle travel, things like that. Stormwater is provided in the green. Well, when you get back to the color exhibit, there's multiple colors here. The dark green areas around the perimeter are what's left of the existing woods. The next shade, lighter green, is the stormwater areas that are used for the required stormwater treatment. The lighter green areas are the lawn areas or the open space. And then you can see, of course, the houses and the sidewalks and driveways are all connected throughout. I can answer any questions anyone has on any of those things. I think John would like to bring up a few points as well. So
We can start here too. So I put together the little packet for you, and if we go to the reference there. The page 1 just starts at the entrance, and the sign is complete now and lit at night if you go by, it's gorgeous. But one thing to bring about as far as the environmental is a scene right to the right of the sign, behind Hollywood, is the bioswale. So there's your first environmental and protecting the environment, is that there's a bioswale right there, so the water coming off the roads within a few feet is being treated. The bioswale, if you, in the details of your construction packet or drawings, you'll see actually the detail of that is 4 feet deep. So you're seeing the surface there, but it goes 4 feet down. There's biomaterials, there's gravel, filters, and under drains in there. So right from the get-go. Page 2 is we're doing very well, thanks to Leonardtown and all the customers that are fighting through the COVID-19. The red dots are sold or settled houses. We, I believe, have about 15 maybe settled already in there. The blue is under construction and or permitted. So that's a total of 41 of the 60 lots. You can see we're ready, kind of chomping at the bit. As soon as we get through this practice, we'll be, we have AB&H. We expect them to be the contractor again. They built section 1 and did a wonderful job with, particularly even not only the roads, but the environmental features there. Page 3 is one of the bioswales, close up of that. So along, yeah, just give me this one here. So on this, it's hard to see, but the green there is a bioswale, and down here. So we're actually looking at this lot here in the corner, and this green that's right in front of it is that bioswale page on page 3. And then again, it's 4 feet wide, 4 feet deep. You don't see that part. The white pipe you see in the foreground is a clean out drain that goes down and underneath the gravel and heads out to the under drain. We, with the approval of the engineers, Saltez, Brian worked with us real close, and we brought in a landscaper instead of just doing the typical. The engineers aren't as quite landscape architectural. So we brought in a landscaper and we put a nice look to it. You know, homeowners are even, oh, wait a minute, is this a bioswale or what? So I have a little, I'm a little delinquent on, but we're actually going to put a little package together, explain to them the whole care and maintenance, because maintenance is the key to biosystems, and allow them to personally, we're going to pick 3 or 4 plants and let them personalize the front of their swales. Page 4, you can see we already have a little bit of homeowner participation. I asked if I could get that picture because I just thought that was very neat. But everybody is, yeah, they're anxious to do a little something in there. And I said until we, you know, blow the grass away from it. You want the grass clippings in it or use baggers. So we're going to do a little couple-page care and maintenance manual for them on that. Page 5 is feedback for the environment. Yeah, the geese that I've seen there since years before we even started construction are still there. And I believe this couple is about ready to have a handful of goslings walking behind them because they're on the pond every day. Page 6 is a view of the pond, and we are about with this phase 2, and I think we can actually do it within phase 1, but where you see this little stripe here is actually a walking path. It's going to come future. We can't go over here yet until we're into section 2. But we're actually looking to see if we can't get a little drawing and get SCD approval to get started on that. But that'll be the playground because we've got all the folks and we want to get the walking paths going and a little bit of playground. So this path here, that photo is taken from down here across the pond. You're seeing those houses in the background. It's just coming out beautiful if you haven't been by. Page 7 is, I know there was a comment regarding how do you protect the wetlands and whatever, and that was done through design by Saltez. QBH doesn't really get much credit there, but the dark green is the forest conservation areas, and that's basically just section 2. There's some more forest conservation in section 1 down in this area that's not shown on this. So the protection of Town Run Creek is really done by the existing forest along that lines there. And the housing actually sits even in Brian's picture of it. There's still, you can see the property lines here, but there's even in some cases there's buffers of the existing field that was that was not even used. We didn't push it to the forested area. So overall, the project's running well. Sales are good, construction's good. And I think that's pretty much what I have for presentations. Any questions from there?
I have a question. What is the light green right here?
It's just open
I
grass,
think that's the,
Okay.
open lawn
Yeah.
area, it's not trees.
That's lot 107. There was the existing Wathen, if I might embellish that a little bit, the existing Wathen house. I don't know if that house shows up on your
oh, I see.
map.
It does.
Is that what this is?
On
The
this
little-
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So down in there is where John's house was and his, whatever he had down
It's
there.
some outbuildings.
Outbuildings
Little
and
sheds
such.
and outbuildings and stuff like that.
So that has been purchased. We kept an easement here for the old driveway. So that goes actually, may I borrow?
Mhm.
That lot ends up being a 4-acre lot, and it comes up here where this line is. He had solar collectors back there. It comes up, goes through. When we build Town Run Drive all the way through, we will then cut this area of the road out and incorporate that path. But that address will tie in a new driveway
Oh, I
down
see.
there. So they come over here and down here. So that was all existing yard there.
Okay.
Nobody's living in the house now,
Oh,
right?
no, they
They
purchased
are
that.
still there?
I was
Okay.
supposed- I was supposed to be invited to a
They
party
sold.
there.
They sold it,
They're
okay.
new owners.
I just didn't, I don't know. There's stuff that's going on in Leonard's Grant with the other old house. It's there like smack dab in the middle with all their signs and stuff, so I was just curious.
This one's different than that. I'm up on both of those.
Okay.
This one is lot 107 of the community.
Okay.
When we purchased this property, we purchased that as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
With Leonard's
Ah.
Grant, the Albies, try not to use names, but anyway, the Albies, they chose to stay in their homes and in their properties. So Leonard's Grant was designed, but their two properties were independent.
Yeah.
Just like Smecco would any out, they just happen to be inside. So
Okay.
there's no HOA coverage on them or anything. They're independent pieces of property, et cetera, et cetera. So this one follows HOA rules. 100? Yeah, I don't think they really even have any exclusions or anything, because they're kind of close here. Sometimes we do large pieces, 15 acres or, and some, and we might let somebody have a chicken or something, but, we have to think of it all. RV
keep their
storage, boat
chickens,
storage, we
you
kind of
know,
run through we have the boilerplate, but then we have the little bit there, so, yep, if that answers your
Yeah, thank you.
question there.
Yeah.
And I thought this one would have a pool and a clubhouse. Is that
Not this one.
not this? Okay.
We would like to incorporate when the Wilkinson parcel comes on.
Okay,
And
that,
then
the
we
adjoining
have-
one that,
And then we have a look to a connection here. All of that's up in the air. I don't know how much we want to go. We've begun research on that.
So,
but that's not part of the town yet either. We would have to annex
No,
that
it
as
is.
well.
No, that is
I
annexed.
thought it was only so far,
It
sorry.
was annexed at the same time as Meadows was annexed.
And that goes all the way up to your the McKays?
Not
No.
quite.
Not quite,
Dry
okay.
Docking Lane is the road
Right,
that
okay.
out on 245.
Near is a relative
I
term.
mean, the hope is
Yeah.
that
Four.
this would be able to connect in the back.
Okay.
Parcel, I don't know, did you show the connection where it's stuck?
I remember when we talked about this one, Michelle.
there.
And then
So-
I just, for
I
whatever
have
reason, I
larger
thought
version.
it somehow you could get to St. John's Road on this from that
No.
add-on. But no, you can't.
No.
Okay.
But we're really not sure, we actually, Jada and myself and
I have that if you want
John
to bring it up.
and Rodney walked out there before the leaves were on the trees so we could really see. And it's very doubtful that MDE is going to allow a full connection there. But they are looking to design at least like a golf cart path, and so that the people in Meadows will be able to enjoy the amenities. And that's really what the plan has been all along.
Okay, thanks.
And part of your plan too, John, was to have the Wilkinson area part of the HOA of Meadows, right?
Yes.
So that this section of Meadows would still be a part of the HOA that has the pool
Yeah.
and the clubhouse, but they would just have to drive around to it or take
The path.
We couldn't market it with the pool because we don't have approval for the pool.
Right,
So
I just
right now
couldn't
it's-
remember
So
what.
right now, it's currently, you are your own entity,
Okay,
right? As we come to you later with what the whole picture, then if we have a pool and we have this, and okay, you can, if I get this right, I'm not in the HOA department at all, but it'll be kind of like you can then buy into,
mm-hmm,
you know, type of a thing. We can't force anybody, because there's people that are there with their own HOA fee right now, and they say, hey, I want a pool, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna participate or whatever. So we have to keep all the private property rights, you know, in that way.
gotcha.
But as this is looking very doubtful, just our professional, I don't know, just the impact is so immense, and that's why I asked Jada and LaShalle, I go over there and chase turkeys every once in a while. But, so I know pretty intimate, but it's a long way down and it's steep hills, and the longer, deeper it is, then the wider this way to build the road to it. And in that case, the word doubtful is a good adjective. So we're then looking at a path and a small crossing or bridge type, so that there's no impact, you know, put it on pilings
Gotcha.
and such, you know, almost like the walkway around here down at the wharf. You know, walkway that goes right out into the water, but it's on pilings, so it doesn't impact as much. So we're reviewing all of those. They're all kind of in the infancy stage, but then hiking, biking,
That
pushing
sounds
the baby
nice.
stroller.
Yeah, there you go.
We
No
did
more
a
baby
lot of-
strollers for
Yeah.
me.
My only other question is how the backyards that go along Town Run, how's that water collected?
You want to answer that one?
The backyard, if you're referring to these on the backside right here?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So for the majority, the most parts of these backyards, they just drain off the back. It's only the backyard that would drain to the back of the property. All of the front yards from the middle of the house forward, all that area drains to the road and gets to one of the stormwater facilities. The back half of the house and the backyard would just sheet flow off the backyard just into the existing woodland. There's not a specific facility or treatment.
The treatment is,
The treatment is just the disconnect over the flow path, over the length through the grass, and that's the treatment. It's not necessarily accounted for treatment in a what you would call a facility, but the treatment for that is just what they call rooftop disconnect, where it's just a flow path over grass.
I was going to say, actually, it is a treatment. It doesn't require a facility. So if the water comes out 75 feet,
75 feet is the maximum credit. If
Okay.
you were-
so if you can get out 75 feet at a low enough slope, the water is seeping in. Is that treatment, so to speak? It doesn't require a swale, or it's not like the road where the front's picking up street water that's been, you know, on asphalt, and there's no regeneration into the soil. So it's a minimal, literally, if you know, just my depth of my fingers right there, that section right there. So it's considered, and it's designed into the whole system.
Okay, and the only reason I ask is because if some are steep slopes and everybody puts down sod and then they fertilize it and do all those other things to
It's
it,
runoff.
sometimes, from my experience, all that water does run off into the woods. If you don't have a backyard, what do you call that, the dry well?
Correct. If you have, and a dry well would be the next, so there's still about 8 best management practices, et cetera. So if you get beyond the 5% slope, then you can't count the rooftop disconnect. Now you have to either do the rain garden or something else, because then you have the runoff. So as long as you're 5% or lower, then you have the penetration into the soil. As it starts to get more steep, then you're going to be required to put something into a dry well or a bioswale or a rain garden.
Okay.
So it's still accounted, every square foot.
And the soils in that area on the back steep slopes are in the A and B group of the hydraulic soil type, which means that they infiltrate very easily. So the water will run down into the soil instead of more just running off over the top and further down the hill. They're very permeable, so that rainwater will have time to seep into the ground, and where it then can be filtered and treated by all the vegetation in the grass and or through the woods as the groundwater is moving down the slope.
I forgot that one. C&D soils. There's a chart of what you can use with which best management. So if you had a clay backyard, then you're going to have to do something because it's not going in at all. So yes, A and B soils is the rooftop disconnect. So, thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Doesn't everybody have a clay backyard here?
Yeah,
Pretty
right.
much.
A lot of Leonard's Grant does.
Um,
Yeah, bank run gravel with rocks over there.
What was this called again? The,
Bioswale,
Bioswale.
what, remind me what this does? Where the water,
may I? Do you remember the cross-section page, Brian? I'm testing you.
20-something.
In the erosion control plan, or do you?
It's gonna be right here, 18?
Let me see, 15.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. May I? Come forward? Rather than try to. This is,
thank you, John.
that's all. And I'll bring it forward to each of you. That's a cross-section when I talked about.
Right, okay.
So what you're only seeing is this surface up here.
But then
That's where
underneath
the
is
planting, so
all
there's
of
the
them.
24 to 48 inches of bioswale, then another filter, and then gravel, and then an under drain.
So it's just catching all the water and then it goes down
the
and
center
it's gonna
line of
go
the road.
out to the pond, that pond or a retaining?
Nah, I'd have to go through each one of them drains to a different location.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
from
that
this-
bioswale, like, again, it's very permeable,
Mm-hmm.
which means it can soak up
I say
a
when
lot
you're
of
looking
water.
at that.
There's a lot of
Those are
airspace
You're only seeing
in
up here.
between the soil particles.
And this is
So
4 feet deep, 4 feet wide.
that can
at least-
hold a
at
lot
least
of
4
water.
feet
So
deep
as the
into it.
water
That's
is
what's
running
over
off the
CSN,
streets or houses or
It's
yards.
CSN. Have you ever been in there,
and gets
Frank?
into it,
Yeah, I think
it's
that's.
very rapidly getting into the
Bioswale,
bioswale
ponds,
and down into that
and
section
submerged gravel wetland,
of
et cetera, et
of the
cetera.
soil media
Okay.
That's what we're
and filling
talking
all
about.
those air spaces up.
And there's a drain under it,
Within those air spaces.
so as it
is
filters
designed
through,
over time.
the
it'll
drain
build
picks
up
it up, that's clean
that
going out. If you
that
have
breaks down the
a 4 or 5 inch storm,
that
where
are
it would want to end up going
constantly
over,
running
that's
off
what you
and
see
into
is
soil.
the caps on top, they're an
That's
overdrain,
the
and it
treatment
just,
part.
by the time the water's out,
Quality,
it doesn't have
those
sediment in
bacteria
it,
and
but it gets it out of there without
microorganisms
overflowing.
Are breaking down all those
Good.
nutrients from
I
the
saw
rock.
them before. Thank you.
Who is gonna oversee all of these when you guys are done?
The maintenance. of
The
them.
maintenance of them?
Yeah, the maintenance will be part of the HOA agreement,
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
so that's already in there, homeowners know that?
It is, yes.
Okay,
yeah, so it'll be a combination. I know John has said some of the homeowners want to be involved in their maintenance, I guess, of their little section. But overall, it will be the responsibility of the HOA to maintain and make sure they're functioning properly.
so these are not part of their property, right? So if
The property
something,
line is in the middle of there somewhere.
that's what I'm wondering,
So we have,
so,
for the town is not responsible at all.
right,
We have that into the HOA. And the town was gracious for us to be able to design this in. Some other jurisdiction, no. So if
Right.
we wanted to put a bioswale, you'd have to go 10 feet off the roadway and all, which it's a bad deal. So, but all of this is maintenance, it's maintenance by the HOA. We're gonna be putting extra effort in, like I said, I'm gonna do a care and maintenance manual, and a couple
Okay.
times we'll be meeting, we already talked to our HOA manager, to where they'll set up at one of the HOA meetings, I'll come in, explain to them how this all
Okay.
works, and have a little, it's fairly simple if you just do,
Mhm.
so mow it, dump a load of grass in it.
yeah,
Right, keep the weed seeds out of it, because weeds have to stay out, et cetera, et cetera. So mowing, a little touch up, and we talked about a small bioswale or grow, to keep them black and pretty, but not hurt their integrity, and then allowing them to customize it with a few plants. That's where they got excited. What, I can put, because we're wanting to create that, it's yours, it's your garden, and get out there and work it a little bit, but it's really a environmental.
so if anything ever happens with one, that homeowner is not responsible, they'll know that they can go to the HOA and the HOA will help
Who
them.
is the HOA?
The homeowners, right, exactly,
So I had that argument with, well, it wasn't an argument, it was a discussion with Charles County, who told me that you can't put them on private property. I said, but the whole essence of environmental right now is get the water back into the ground as closest to where it fell as possible. But he wanted us to take the swale and transfer the water half mile down the street and put it into a biopond. Because that was,
okay,
wait a minute, it's still private property, because that's owned by the HOA, and I could,
Mhm.
but I couldn't get that through to him. So it's the homeowner / HOA is responsible, as are condominiums and everything else.
Yeah.
It's
Jada and Lachelle know why I'm asking this.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah,
we have an issue somewhere.
Well, I'll just say that when it goes wrong, you know.
Yeah, gotcha. But we want to be, as we try to do everything, Dale and Rod are the leader of do it right the first time, and if it ever fails, you know, when I built one subdivision and I got a report one time, I said, wait a minute, that was 12 years ago. When do I get there?
Yeah.
You don't. You go and you check it, and if it was a QBH,
No, you're
You're gonna fix
good.
it,
You guys
so.
are doing the right thing. No, all this, it's good.
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Very good. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody care to make a motion?
I can make a motion.
Okay.
For case number 100-15, Meadows at Town Run, at Waltham Farm, I move that we approve the request for Phase 2 final site plan.
Send a favorable recommendation.
Favorable recommendation, thank you, to the town council.
And there's no second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So at the end of our other business, we have the review of monthly in-house permits for many months.
And you
Yeah.
do have many months there to look at, as you can see.
Mhm.
It's been very busy since we met last time. So if you do have any specific questions, I can try to answer those to the best of my memory.
And what about the zoning text amendments? Are you going to go over any of those with us today? or-
I didn't plan to. I wanted to give them to you in advance, especially for the larger ones, like the small cell wireless facilities. That's a bigger type ordinance. I just wanted to make sure you had plenty of time to review it, see if you had any questions. If you do, you can email them to me. You can ask today. I believe Laura actually had asked about the property maintenance. So I think I addressed that to you in an email, but just so everybody else knows. Her concern was, it says 12 inches for property maintenance for grass, and we've run into a problem before. So Laura was concerned more along the lines of like open spaces that we have. This particular ordinance does not apply to, let's say, playground areas in Leonard's Grant and other common areas. Those are pretty well kept. And typically, we don't have that type of a problem anywhere. This is more for properties that aren't being taken care of, properties with houses on them, and stuff like that.
And I would say also on our YouTube channel, the town council meeting, she went through each individual one and a description and kind of why we were doing it. It might be beneficial as you have time to read through them to watch that as well.
And again, if you don't, I mean, I'm always available via email or phone. You all have my number. Feel free to call me and ask me any questions that you want. But I figured I just wanted you to have them in advance and we could go over them in detail at the actual public hearing next month.
Yeah, they went over them pretty thoroughly at the council meeting. Because
We tried
I
to.
watched it and I was like, because I was curious as to like where it's coming. I assumed I knew where it was coming from because most of the public areas are pretty well kept by the
Yeah.
town or the HOAs or whatever. I figured it was private properties.
Yeah, and with the property maintenance, this is actually one where this was in our code. The
Mhm.
12 inches was in our code. When we adopted the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code, which was a wonderful thing, we just somehow overlooked adding in 12 inches.
Mm.
That's all we needed to add was that number. So it's not like this is a new number, it's
Right.
not a new code. We just forgot to plug in that one number, and this will take care of that.
I have a question on the permits.
Okay.
Meeting with the dollar store representative in February.
Okay, so we did meet with the dollar store representatives. Actually, I think for legal reasons, it might be better if Michelle discusses this one.
It is still, they are still appealing the decision in court. So-
From August, the town council one?
Yes, yes. So there is an appeal, there is a court date set. That's pretty much what we can say. We met to just talk about, they asked for a meeting with Jada and I, and our legal counsel, and their legal counsel was there, and we just talked about what is connectivity, what could they do, and they didn't feel that anything that we talked about was reasonable for them to connect to the town, so they basically put a sidewalk to nowhere on the plan, and so that was the only thing they could do. So, you know, it's still proceeding through the courts.
And we thought, in all fairness, we thought that we had a very productive meeting
Yeah.
in discussing it with them. They didn't, when they left, they didn't seem to have any
Yeah.
problems, so.
They just don't care that the people that live behind them don't want that building there, so that's, yeah. And then the breweries, wineries, and distilleries, you guys, what's that? So is that like with the board, like the alcohol board, and, or is that meeting with the county and state officials for the breweries, wineries?
Okay,
Because we
so-
approved that, right? We're good.
Actually, that was already approved. We
Okay.
already allow breweries, wineries.
That's what I thought,
and
okay.
The meeting that I sat in on was more along the lines of county government. County government is a lot more restrictive, and the state is trying to get them to ease some of those restrictions. And the state's working very diligently. We had people come down from Maryland Grow and Fortify, local breweries, wineries, and distilleries were invited to the meeting as well. We sat up here for a good couple hours, kind of going over with the county some of the concerns. The result of that meeting is they're not going to change anything. They're going to leave their standards as is. However, they're looking at possibly increasing their standards. So certain places, I will set aside and use myself as an example. My husband and I just purchased a 3-acre farm to be able to do our farm brewery. We have to get our plans in and get them in now because the county wants to change it to be a minimum of 5 acres. We only own 3. So we may have just wasted a big chunk of money on a farm that we can't use. So I'm working, some of these wineries, breweries, and distilleries, there's actually a very big group of us, especially breweries. We do have a couple wineries here, we do have a couple distilleries, and that's great to see. But breweries are, the requirements that they set forth on breweries is very stringent. So we're still trying to work with Maryland Grow and Fortify and some of the state representatives. So that's what that meeting was about.
Okay.
It doesn't really have anything to do with
Leonardtown, okay.
We hosted the meeting, and the hope is that the county would see the rules that we have and maybe lax a little bit, but that didn't happen at all. So,
Yeah, that was my question too. And
yeah.
I figured that's what it was about.
Yeah.
When I was in tourism, I dealt a lot with this, and it's been a long time.
Quite a bit, because there's
A long fight with them.
There's a
With the alcohol board.
disconnect between the definition of agritourism and being a brewery, winery, and distillery.
Yes.
Well, you can have agritourism as long as you're providing, as long as you're growing the product on your farm and you're providing tourism. People come, you give them tours of your farm, of what you're doing. That is the definition of agritourism. However, it does not apply to breweries, wineries, and distilleries
In this county.
in this county. It does in others, but not in this county.
In most other counties, it does.
Yes.
So
Again, that had definitely more to do with the county, but it was nice for us to kind of sit in and listen to it and try to get an idea of where the county was coming from, and definitely hearing about the agritourism was very nice. And it was also nice to hear from some of the other breweries, wineries, and distilleries that have had a hard time working with county government and would like to move into Leonardtown. So Leonardtown may actually get their very own. So I think it was a very productive meeting. And I'm really hoping that some of those breweries, wineries, and distilleries will reach out to the town and see what our process is, because we may very well be able to help them, and it only attracts more tourism.
It does, especially agritourism in this county. That's
Exactly.
what we are. So
Mhm.
to be able to expand upon that and show more people what we have, in a neater way, that's right up our alley. So
Agreed.
that's why I always thought it was interesting the way the Alcohol Beverage Board framed certain things in this county. You would think it would help us more, but it's been a long running
Yeah.
sort of discussion for years and years and years and years and years. So I'm glad that they had at least a discussion with Grow and Fortify, and they came down, so that's cool.
They did, yeah, and Grow and Fortify and the state representatives, it was nice. I mean, it would be nice if they do it again and maybe
Mhm.
invite some other people from the public, but I really don't see that happening.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
any other questions on the permit?
I have two more different, not permit questions. I feel like I'm holding us all up. So
No,
the
you're fine.
annexation there for 4 in that corner, is that like,
It's like a weird corner, right? It's like
yeah, but there's that other office kind of weird building that's in there.
It's
Not that one,
it's
is it?
not that
No.
one. If you
Yeah.
keep going, it's that White House that needs to be torn down.
Yeah, it's kind of like tucked away in the woods. That's what I was gonna
That
ask.
U shape.
Medical Arts Center is beside Cedar Lane. Is that
Yes.
the office building you're talking
Yes.
about? They are already in town.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, no, I'm talking about the annexation part that we're talking about, but
No.
that's down the hill.
I thought you were talking about when you turn onto 4, there's,
Mhm.
what is it, linear survey?
Linear
Just
survey.
on
They
this.
may
Sorry,
come
that's
in
it.
as well.
Okay.
It kind of wraps around the parcel
Okay.
that the nursing home is looking at, the
Okay.
contract on, kind of wraps around that parcel, so it hasn't been decided for sure, but I think he may come in as well.
Okay, that's what I was curious
Yeah.
about. And then, are we doing anything for Hayden? Are there any plans to kind of like thank him or anything?
Yes, we always do a little gift, and I think the governor's office is doing a little proclamation for him as well, so we'll invite him to the next meeting.
Okay, if there's anything I can do, you'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was it. All right.
I have just one last question too. Was Lindsay Drive paved or something with that?
They were supposed to finish the connection this past
Oh,
week, correct?
The connection, sorry.
They're starting the paving, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like there was some sort of asphalt overlay that was
They're
put.
working on some areas that had failed and
Yeah.
redoing those, and then they're gonna be paving that connection as well.
And when did you think that was going to happen?
They've actually started work on it.
Oh, cool. So it's probably going to be next month or two?
Yes,
That's awesome.
yeah.
There's been a lot of people walking on it. I've noticed.
Annual report.
Yes.
Cool, thank you.
We have to approve page 1 of the
annual
annual
report.
report.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
annual report.
That's okay. It didn't really have an asterisk there.
It didn't have a number. But we do need to do the review and approval of the Maryland Department of Planning for the 2019 annual report.
Yes.
And I think she emailed that copy to us so that we had that before we came today.
Yes.
Did anybody have any questions about that?
I already asked it and it was answered. Thank you.
I think it was pretty straightforward.
It's fairly short because
Straightforward.
we're a municipality. They make it very simple. How many building permits did you issue? Did you expand?
Mhm.
And we need a motion for that approval.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Maryland Department of Planning 2019 annual report, page 1.
Yes.
I second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody have any other comments or questions? I think we covered a lot since we haven't been here for so long.
Oh, you just wait till next month.
That's true.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's nice to have the flow when we get to find out what's going on and how things have been going. Okay, does anybody have a motion for adjournment?
I will motion to adjourn.
Second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I can sign
Yes,
this.
thank you.
So you can't write letters to the appeals court.